December 18th, 1944. The Ardennes Forest, Belgium, 5:47 in the morning. Klaus Weber pressed his face against frozen earth. The metallic taste of fear sharp on his tongue. Through the pre-dawn fog he could barely make out the silhouettes of his squad. 7 men of the 12th SS Panzer Division, moving through snow-laden pines with the confidence of veterans who had crushed an American reconnaissance group just hours before, 24 years old, 2 years of war behind him. 30 men killed by his hand, Russians mostly, Poles, and now Americans. The crunch of boots on crystallized snow echoed through the forest like breaking glass. Klaus raised his fist, his squad halted. Movement ahead. 60 meters, maybe less. A lone American soldier, probably a straggler from the 14th Cavalry Group they'd overrun yesterday. 8 against 1. Klaus smiled. This would take 30 seconds. What happened in the next 8 seconds would haunt Klaus Weber for the rest of his life. A life his 7 comrades would never live to see. But first, we must go back. Back to understand how a boy from Stuttgart became a soldier in the snow. Back to understand the weapon that would change everything. Back 24 years. 1920. Stuttgart, Germany. Klaus Weber was born in the ruins of the First World War. His father, Ernst, had returned from the trenches with 1 leg and a hatred that never healed. His mother, Margareta, had learned to make soup from potato peels and prayers. They told Klaus stories, stories of German valor, stories of betrayal by politicians and profiteers, stories of a greatness stolen. Klaus grew up hungry, not just for food, though there was never enough of that. Hungry for purpose, for pride, for something to believe in when everything around him was broken. He was 16 when he joined the Hitler Youth. 1936. Stuttgart. The rally filled the square. Thousands of boys in uniform, sharp creases, polished boots, flags snapping in the wind like rifle shots. Klaus stood in formation, chest out, eyes forward. For the first time in his life, he wasn't hungry. He belonged. The speaker's voice echoed off stone buildings, words about destiny, about purification, about reclaiming what was rightfully theirs. Klaus believed every word. His father watched from the crowd, 1 leg, 1 crutch, tears streaming down his weathered face. Finally, Ernst whispered, finally, Germany rises again. Klaus didn't know it then, but thousands of miles away, another man was rising too, a quiet Canadian immigrant working in a Massachusetts armory, a man whose invention would one day stand between Klaus and the future he imagined. Springfield, Massachusetts, same year, 1936. Johann Hollis Reinhardt stood in the testing facility. 50 yards downrange, a target. In his hands, the rifle he'd spent 17 years perfecting, the T1E2, soon to be designated the M1. Hollis was 48 years old, grey starting at his temples, calluses on his hands from 1,000 prototypes. A quiet man who spoke rarely, but thought constantly. He'd been born Johann Reinhardt in Quebec. German father, French mother, immigrated to Connecticut after his mother died, worked in textile mills at 12, taught himself engineering by candlelight. Now he was about to change warfare forever. General Morrison stood beside him, arms crossed, skeptical. Mr. Reinhardt, we've tested 47 semi-automatic designs, 47 failures. What makes yours different? Hollis didn't answer with words. He raised the rifle, fired 8 rounds in rapid succession. Bang, 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 bang. 8 holes in the target, grouped tight as a fist, then the sound. A distinctive metallic ping as the en bloc clip ejected. Morrison's eyebrows rose. How fast can a trained soldier fire that? 40 rounds per minute, accurately. Our bolt actions manage 15. I know. Morrison stared at the target. 8 holes, 8 seconds. Jesus Christ. Hollis set the rifle down gently, like a father laying down a sleeping child. General, I need you to understand something. This weapon will save American lives. I'm certain of it. And you want how much in royalties? Hollis shook his head. Nothing. I'm sorry. I'm signing over all patent rights to the United States government. No royalties, no compensation beyond my salary. Morrison blinked. Mr. Reinhardt, this could make you a millionaire. American soldiers need the best weapon possible. Money doesn't matter. Morrison extended his hand. Then we have a deal. On January 9th, 1936, the United States Army officially adopted the M1 Garand. They Americanized Hollis Reinhardt's name in the designation. The rifle became the Garand, a tribute to the immigrant who gave everything and asked nothing in return. Production began slowly. 10 rifles per day in September 1937. Hollis stood on the factory floor, watching the first rifle come off the line. Tears in his eyes, his daughter, Rebecca, tugged his sleeve. "Papa, why are you crying?" "Because, kleine Maus, this rifle will save boys like you from becoming widows' sons." And Rebecca was 8. She didn't understand. She would, eventually. 1941, Eastern Front, Soviet Union. Klaus Weber was 21 years old when he first killed a man. Operation Barbarossa. 3 million German soldiers pouring into Russia, the largest invasion in human history. Klaus's unit advanced through a Ukrainian village, burning buildings, screaming civilians, the smell of gunpowder and death. A Soviet soldier stepped from behind a barn, Mosin Nagant rifle raised, young, 18, maybe, terrified eyes. Klaus didn't hesitate. He raised his carabiner 98K bolt action. German engineering, reliable. He fired. The Russian fell. Klaus worked the bolt, chambered another round, but the Russian didn't get up. Klaus walked over, looked down at the body, blood spreading in the dirt. The Russian's eyes were still open, still terrified, but empty now. Klaus felt nothing. His sergeant, Dieter Schneider, clapped him on the shoulder. "Good shot. First one's the hardest. After that, they're just targets." Dieter was 26, 5 years older, 5 years wiser, Klaus's best friend. "I thought I'd feel something," Klaus said. "You will. Tonight, maybe. Or next week. But then you won't. That's how you survive." Dieter was right. By the end of 1941, Klaus had killed 9 men. By the end of 1942, 23. By December 1944, 37. He'd stopped counting after 30. The numbers lost meaning. What mattered was survival. What mattered was the mission. What mattered was Germany. Klaus wrote letters home. To his father, Ernst. To his wife, Liesel, whom he'd married in 1942. To his daughter, Greta, born the same year. A child he'd only seen twice. The letters were careful, censored. He couldn't tell them about the villages, the burning, the bodies. He told them about comradeship, about German valor, about the coming victory. He believed it, had to believe it. The alternative was unthinkable. December 1944. Springfield, Massachusetts. Hollis Reinhardt stood in his workshop. Midnight, couldn't sleep. On his desk, casualty reports from the Battle of the Bulge. 3 days old. The numbers climbed every hour. 19,000 American soldiers dead in 3 weeks. Hollis picked up an M1 Garand. The weapon he'd created, the weapon that was supposed to save lives, 19,000. His hands shook. The door opened. Rebecca, 16 now, nearly grown. "Papa, it's almost Christmas. Come to bed."
"They're dying, Rebecca. Boys your age, boys younger. I gave them a better rifle and they're still dying." Rebecca sat beside him, took his weathered hand. "How many would have died without it?" Hollis looked at his daughter. "What? Without your rifle, if they only had bolt actions like the Germans, how many more would be dead?" Hollis hadn't considered this. He'd only counted the lost, not the saved. "I don't know. Then maybe you should think about that instead."
Rebecca kissed his forehead, left him alone with his thoughts. Hollis stared at the rifle, his creation, his burden. Somewhere in Belgium, American soldiers were fighting with this weapon, fighting and dying, fighting and surviving. He'd given them a chance. Nothing more, nothing less. In war, sometimes a chance is everything. December 16th, 1944, Ardennes Forest, 2 days before. Klaus Weber's squad moved through the pre-dawn darkness. Operation Wacht am Rhein, Watch on the Rhine. 200,000 German troops, 1,000 tanks, Hitler's last gamble. They'd been told the Americans were weak, inexperienced, their lines thinly held. They'd been told victory was certain. Klaus wanted to believe it, had to believe it. The alternative was surrender, occupation, shame. His squad hit the American 14th Cavalry Group at 5:30 a.m. The Americans never saw them coming. It was a massacre. Klaus and his men moved through American positions like wolves through sheep. The Americans had better weapons, M1 Garands, semi-automatic fire. But surprise and experience won. By noon, the cavalry group was shattered. Hundreds of Americans dead or captured. Klaus's squad had suffered 0 casualties. That night they celebrated, found American rations, chocolate, coffee, cigarettes. Dieter Schneider raised a captured canteen. "To Klaus, 7 confirmed kills today." The squad cheered. Klaus smiled, felt pride. He was good at this, good at war, good at killing. Later, on watch, Klaus found a wounded American soldier, gut shot, dying slowly. The American looked up at Klaus, maybe 19 years old, corn silk hair, Midwestern face. "Please," the American whispered, "please." Klaus raised his car, 98K, aimed at the American's head, mercy of a kind. But before he fired, the American spoke again, delirious, dying. "You're gonna lose. We got better guns." Klaus laughed. "You think a gun matters?" The American smiled, blood on his teeth. 8 rounds, fast as you can pull the trigger. You'll see." Klaus fired. The American's head snapped back. Silence. Klaus walked away, but the words stayed with him. 8 rounds, fast as you can pull the trigger. What did that mean? December 17th, 1944. Evening. Klaus's squad made camp in an abandoned farmhouse. They'd advanced 15 kilometers. The offensive was succeeding, American lines crumbling. Dieter cleaned his rifle by candlelight. "Klaus, I saw something today." "What?" "An American soldier. He fired 8 times without reloading. 8 times, I counted." Klaus frowned. "That's impossible. Their rifles are bolt action like ours." "Some of them aren't. Some of them have these semi-automatic rifles, load from the top with a clip, fire as fast as you pull the trigger." Klaus thought about the dying American's words. "How many of them have these rifles?" Dieter shrugged. "I don't know. Maybe a lot. Maybe all of them." Klaus felt a cold knot in his stomach. If all American soldiers can fire 8 rounds in the time we fire 2, then we have a problem. The 2 men sat in silence. Outside, snow began to fall. Klaus pulled out paper, began writing a letter. "My dearest Liesel, the offensive goes well. We have pushed the Americans back. Victory is close. I can feel it. Greta will be 3 years old in February. I will be home by then, I promise you this. The Americans are weak, poorly trained. We have experience, we have will, we have discipline. By spring, this war will be over. We will be together again. I love you. I love our daughter. Everything I do for our future. Yours always, Klaus. He folded the letter, placed it in his jacket pocket. He would mail it tomorrow, after the next engagement. Dieter watched him. You believe that? That we'll win? Klaus met his friend's eyes. We have to. That's not an answer. It's the only answer that matters. Dieter nodded slowly, went back to cleaning his rifle. Outside, the snow fell harder, covering the blood, covering the bodies, covering the tracks, making everything white, clean, innocent. Klaus closed his eyes, tried to sleep, dreamed of home, of Liesel, of Greta's 3rd birthday party. He didn't dream of what was coming. No one ever does. December 18th, 1944, 5 a.m. Klaus Weber woke to Dieter shaking his shoulder. Klaus, we have orders. American stragglers spotted 2 kilometers north. We're to eliminate them. Klaus sat up, rubbed sleep from his eyes. How many? Unknown. Maybe a dozen, maybe less. Klaus checked his Kar 98K. 5 rounds in the internal magazine. 20 more rounds in pouches on his belt. More than enough. His squad assembled, 8 men, veterans all. Dieter, his best friend, 26 years old. Wife and child back in Munich, Ernst Müller, not his father, different Ernst, 19, youngest of the squad, eager to prove himself. Friedrich Weber, the quiet one, 32, never smiled, killed efficiently, no relation to Klaus, despite the shared name. Otto Schmidt, the Joker. Always had a story, always made them laugh. Heinrich Braun, the intellectual, had been studying philosophy before the war. Josef Keller, the religious one, carried a Bible, prayed before every engagement. Matthias Richter, the sharpshooter, 28, calm under fire. And Klaus, the leader, 24 years old, 37 confirmed kills, 8 men, 8 Kar 98K rifles, 40 rounds each. They moved into the forest, snow crunching under boots, breath misting in the frozen air. Klaus felt good, confident. They'd won yesterday, they'd win today. 8 against a dozen. Good odds. At 5:35 a.m., they spotted movement 100 meters ahead. Klaus raised his fist. The squad halted. He moved forward, crept through the snow, peered around a massive oak tree. One American soldier, alone, standing by a shattered tree trunk. Klaus smiled. 8 against 1. This would be easy. He signaled his squad. Hand gestures. Surround. Envelop. Standard tactics. The squad moved into position, silent, professional. The American didn't seem to notice, just stood there, looking at something in his hands. Klaus moved closer, 40 meters now, could see the American's face. Young, 19, maybe 20. Dark hair, lean build, scared eyes, but not running, not hiding, just standing there, holding his rifle. Klaus raised his Kar 98K, aimed at the American's chest. He hesitated. Something felt wrong. The American looked up, met Klaus's eyes across the distance. No fear in those eyes, just sadness. Klaus signaled the attack. Dieter stood from cover, raised his rifle. The American raised his weapon too. Not a Kar 98K, not a bolt action, something else. Klaus saw it clearly now. M1 Garand, the semi-automatic, the 8-round clip, the devil's typewriter. The American's finger moved to the trigger. Klaus opened his mouth to shout a warning. Too late. The forest erupted, not the crack of bolt-action rifles, but a rhythm, mechanical, precise, unstoppable. Bang, 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 bang. 8 shots. Continuous. No pause, no hesitation, like typewriter keys striking paper. Klaus saw it unfold in slow motion. Dieter fell first, Best friend, brother in arms, head snapping back, blood spray bright against white snow, dead before he hit the ground. Young Ernst second, chest shot, the eager 19-year-old who'd wanted to prove himself, mouth open in surprise, no scream, just silence. Friedrich third, the quiet one, caught mid-step, spinning, falling. Otto fourth, the joker, no jokes now, just death. Heinrich fifth, the philosopher, all his thoughts ended in an instant. Joseph sixth, the religious man, his Bible couldn't stop bullets. Matthias seventh, the sharpshooter, never got a shot off. The eighth shot hit Klaus, left shoulder, the impact spinning him, knocking him backward, pain exploding through his body. He fell, hard, face first into snow, above him a sound, ping, distinctive, metallic, final, the M-block clip ejecting. Empty, ready for reload. Klaus rolled onto his back, looked up through tears and pain. The American soldier stood over him. M1, Garand held ready, fresh clip already loaded. Smoking barrel pointed at Klaus's head. Their eyes met. The American's finger rested on the trigger. 1 pound of pressure, Klaus would die. But the American didn't fire. He stood there, looking down at Klaus, at the 7 bodies surrounding him, at the blood on the snow, at what he'd done. The American's lips moved. Klaus could barely hear, but he read the words. Oh God, what have I done? The American's hands shook, the rifle trembled. 8 men, 8 seconds.
8 lives ended. The American took a step back, then another. He looked at Klaus one more time, eyes full of horror and pity. Then he turned, walked away, disappeared into the fog. Left Klaus alive, left him bleeding, left him to freeze, left him to think. Klaus lay in the snow, couldn't move, shoulder on fire, blood soaking through his uniform. Around him, his squad, his friends, his brothers. Dieter's eyes stared at nothing, snow already covering his face.
Young Ernst, crumpled like a discarded doll, still surprised, still innocent. Friedrich, Otto, Heinrich, Josef, Matthias, all dead. 7 men, 8 seconds. Klaus closed his eyes, tears freezing on his cheeks. For the first time in 3 years of war, Klaus Weber understood something fundamental. Germany was going to lose. Not because of strategy, not because of numbers, because the Americans had a better rifle. A rifle that let 1 man kill 8 in the time it took Klaus to fire twice. A rifle designed by an immigrant, a German immigrant, in America. Klaus laughed, bitter, painful, blood in his mouth. Germany feared immigrants, killed them, expelled them. America accepted them, let them create, let them build. And now, Germany was dying because of it. Klaus lay there for 3 hours, maybe 4. Time lost meaning. The cold crept into his bones, started at his extremities, worked inward toward his heart. He thought about Liesel, about Greta, about the letter in his pocket promising to be home by spring. He thought about the 37 men he'd killed, wondered if any of them had wives, children, promises they couldn't keep. He thought about Dieter, best friend, gone in an instant. And he thought about the American soldier, young, scared, horrified by what he'd done. That American had killed 8 men, but he'd been merciful enough to spare the 9th.
Why? Klaus didn't know. All he knew was cold and pain and the knowledge that everything he'd believed was wrong. German medics found him at 9 a.m. They loaded him onto a stretcher, gave him morphine. The world went soft. As they carried him away, Klaus looked back. 7 bodies under tarps, snow falling gently, covering them, making them white. Clean. Innocent again. But Klaus knew better. Nothing about war was innocent. Not the killing, not the dying, not the surviving.
Especially not the surviving, because Klaus Weber would have to live with this every day for the rest of his life. 7 friends dead, 1 survivor. The story was just beginning. December 19th, 1944, German Field Hospital. Klaus Weber woke to white ceiling, white walls, white bandages, everything white, like the snow. But white doesn't mean clean. His shoulder throbbed, dull, constant. Morphine made it distant but couldn't erase it completely. He tried to move his left hand. Fingers wouldn't respond properly. A doctor appeared, old, 60s, tired eyes. Awake, good. German accent, Prussian, clipped. You're lucky, bullet clean through, no bone damage, heal in 6 weeks. The doctor lifted Klaus's left hand, unwrapped the bandages. Klaus stared. 2 fingers missing, ring finger, pinky, stumps wrapped in gauze. Frostbite, the doctor said. Too much damage, had to amputate. You'll adapt. Klaus closed his eyes. 2 fingers. Small price for surviving when 7 men died. Your squad? Klaus whispered. The doctor's expression didn't change. All dead. You're the only survivor. Klaus already knew, but hearing it confirmed made it real. How? The doctor asked. Intelligence wants to know. How did 1 American kill 7 German soldiers? Klaus opened his eyes, met the doctor's gaze. A better rifle. What? The Americans have a better rifle, semi-automatic, 8 rounds, fast as pulling the trigger. 1 man becomes 8, the doctor frowned. That's concerning. It's over, Klaus said quietly. Germany can't win against that, the doctor stiffened. Defeatist talk is truth. If every American has that rifle, if they can all fire 8 times while we fire twice, numbers don't matter, training doesn't matter, we lose. The doctor said nothing, but Klaus saw it in his eyes. Fear. Because he knew Klaus was right. December 21st, 1944. The hospital was overrun by American forces. The German counteroffensive collapsing faster than it began. Klaus became a prisoner without firing another shot. American soldiers moved through the ward, collecting wounded Germans, checking for weapons. Most were young, 18, 19, 20, all carrying M1 Garands. Klaus stared at the rifles, the weapons that had killed his friends, the weapons that had ended his war. An American medic checked Klaus's wounds, gentle, professional. Shoulder looks good. Clean entry and exit. Hand? The medic looked at the stumps. Frostbite amputation. You'll be okay. Klaus said nothing. The medic noticed Klaus staring at his M1, Garand propped against the wall. You seen one of these before? Klaus nodded. Yes. December 18th. One of your soldiers. He killed my entire squad. 7 men, 8 seconds. The medic's eyes widened. Jesus, 1 guy? 1 rifle, your rifle. The medic picked up the M1, ran his hand along the stock. Yeah, the Garand's something special.
Best rifle in the war. Who made it? Klaus asked. The medic shrugged. Some engineer, Garand, I think, works at Springfield Armory. Klaus filed that away. Garand. The man who'd created the weapon that changed everything. December 22nd, 1944, American POW camp, Belgium. They loaded Klaus into a truck with 30 other wounded Germans, drove west,
away from the fighting, into captivity. The POW camp was a muddy field surrounded by barbed wire, thousands of German soldiers, defeated, waiting. Klaus sat in the mud, shoulder bandaged, missing fingers throbbing. Around him, other prisoners talked, shared rumors, clung to hope. The Führer has wonder weapons, V3 rockets. They'll destroy London. Stalin will make peace with us, turn on the West, then we'll defeat America together. This is temporary, a strategic withdrawal. We'll counterattack in spring. Klaus listened, said nothing. He knew the truth. The war was over. Germany had lost. He'd learned that in 8 seconds on December 18th. December 24th, 1944. Christmas Eve. Red Cross packages arrived. Chocolate, cigarettes, canned meat. Klaus couldn't eat. Sat alone. Thinking about Dieter. About the others. About Liesel and Greta. Waiting for a letter that would never come. An American sergeant approached. Older than most. Maybe 40. Irish face. Name tag. O'Brien. "You speak English?" O'Brien asked. Klaus struggled. "Small. Little." O'Brien sat down, offered a cigarette. Klaus took it. Tried to light it with his damaged left hand. Missing fingers made it awkward. O'Brien noticed. Lit it for him. "Frostbite?" O'Brien asked. "Yes, Ardennes. Rough battle. You're lucky to be alive." Klaus exhaled smoke. "My friends all dead. I am not lucky." O'Brien studied him. "How'd it happen?" "One American soldier, one rifle, 8 seconds, 7 men dead." O'Brien's expression shifted, surprise, then understanding. "The Garand?" "Yes, that rifle." O'Brien patted his M1 Garand. "Yeah, it's something special." Klaus looked at the rifle, the weapon that had destroyed his world. "Who make it?" "Fella named Hollis Reinhardt." Well, his real name was Johann Reinhardt, but it got Americanized. Canadian immigrant. Klaus frowned, processing. "Immigrant?" "Yep, German father, French mother, came to America with nothing. Now his rifle's winning the war." Klaus felt something shift in his chest. "German?" O'Brien nodded. "German immigrant, designed the rifle beating Germany. Funny how the world works, huh?" Klaus stared. "In Germany we would call him traitor. Impure, we would kill him. In America we gave him a workshop and let him create. That's the difference between us and you, Fritz." Klaus thought about this. The implications staggering. "He get rich?" Klaus asked. O'Brien shook his head. "Nope. Signed over all the patents to the government, didn't take a dime in royalties. Just wanted to help American soldiers." Klaus couldn't comprehend it. "He give away everything." "Everything. That's America. Doesn't matter where you're from. Matters what you do once you get here." O'Brien stood, stretched. "Reinhardt came with nothing. Probably die with nothing. But he gave America something nobody else could. He gave us a fighting chance against men like you." O'Brien walked away. Klaus sat in the mud, mind reeling. A German immigrant, accepted by America, given opportunity, created the weapon-destroying Germany. In Germany, Hollis Reinhardt would have been expelled, killed, erased. In America, he was a hero. What kind of country does that? Klaus pulled out paper, started writing, not to Liesel, to someone he'd never meet. "Dear Mr. Reinhardt, you do not know me. I am Klaus Weber, German soldier, your enemy. On December 18th, 1944, an American soldier used your rifle to kill my entire squad. 7 men, 8 seconds. I should hate you. Hate your rifle, hate what you created, but I don't, because your rifle showed me something I didn't understand. In Germany, we fear immigrants, call them impure, destroy them. In America, you accept them. Let them build. Let them create. My country rejected people like you. Your country embraced you. And now, my country is dying because of it. I don't blame you. I thank you. Thank you for showing me the truth. Germany's problem isn't your rifle, it's what the rifle represents. A country that accepts instead of rejects. That builds instead of destroys. I was on the wrong side. I see that now. Your rifle didn't just defeat Germany. It showed me what Germany could have been. I will never send this letter. You will never read these words. But I needed to write them, to understand what happened, to understand what I lost. Not just my friends, but my country, my beliefs, my future. Thank you, Mr. Reinhardt. Thank you for the lesson. Klaus Weber. POW number 47,823. He folded the letter, placed it with the unsent letter to Liesel. Words that would never be read, but needed to be written. January 1945. POW camp. Klaus spent weeks watching, learning, understanding. Every American soldier carried an M1 Garand. Every single one. He watched them clean the rifles, strip them down, reassemble them. The process took minutes. He watched them practice, loading, firing, the distinctive ping of clips, ejecting. One day, a supply truck arrived. Ammunition, millions of rounds, thousands of en-bloc clips. Klaus stood near the fence, watching American soldiers unload boxes. A young soldier dropped a box, clips scattered. Hundreds of them. Damn it, the soldier cursed, started picking them up. Another soldier laughed. Don't worry, we got millions more. Factory makes them faster than we can use them. Klaus absorbed this. Millions of clips, millions of rounds. Germany couldn't make enough bullets for their bolt-action rifles. America made clips by the million for their semi-automatics. The war wasn't lost on battlefields. It was lost in factories. America outproduced, outsupplied, out-equipped. Klaus thought about German factories bombed, destroyed, workers starving, and American factories untouched, running 3 shifts, women workers making rifles and ammunition, while men fought overseas. Germany fought with what they had. America fought with what they could make. That was the difference. May 8th, 1945, VE Day. The loudspeakers crackled. German, then English, then French. The war in Europe is over. Germany has surrendered unconditionally. 5,000 German prisoners stood in silence. Some wept, some stared, some smiled with relief. Klaus felt nothing. He'd known this was coming since December 18th. An American officer walked through the camp, making announcements. You'll be processed, repatriated to Germany, returned to your families. Klaus raised his hand. Sir? The officer stopped. Yes? Klaus struggled with English, still learning. What if not want return Germany? The officer frowned. What do you mean? If want, stay. Come America, is possible? The officer stared, then laughed. Not cruel, just surprised. You want to immigrate to America after fighting against us? Yes, sir. Why? Klaus thought about how to explain. How to make this officer understand. In Germany only shame, only ruins, only remember what I did. And in America? Maybe can be different, better, like man who make your rifle. German immigrant, he builds something, not destroy. I want build too. The officer's expression softened, pulled out a notepad. What's your name? Klaus Weber. You speak English? Small. I learn more. Family in Germany. Wife, daughter, still alive. Want bring them. The officer wrote, I'll submit your name. No promises. We're accepting displaced persons. But you'll need to prove you weren't a war criminal, that you didn't commit atrocities. Klaus's heart sank. I was SS. Then you'll have an uphill battle. But if you can document that you were just a regular soldier, that you didn't participate in massacres or camps, maybe they'll approve you. I will prove. Whatever need, I prove. The officer nodded. I hope you do, Weber. I really do. Because if you can prove it, America could use men who want to build instead of destroy. He walked away. Klaus stood there, hope blooming in his chest, a fragile, terrible hope. Maybe, just maybe. A second chance. June 1945 to January 1947, the long wait. Klaus spent 18 months in POW camps, Belgium, France, finally England. During this time, everything changed. He learned English every day, reading American newspapers, listening to guards, practicing with other prisoners who spoke it. He studied American history, read about immigrants, about the melting pot, about opportunity. He documented his service, found fellow prisoners who'd served with him, who could testify he'd been a soldier, not a murderer. In November 1945, he was reclassified, low-risk prisoner, no documented war crimes. In March 1946, he was offered repatriation, refused. The processing officer was confused. You can go home. Why refuse? Germany is not home anymore. Home is destroyed. I want new home. Where? America. The officer sighed, handed him forms. Fill these out. Immigration application. It'll take months, maybe a year. No guarantees. Klaus took the forms, hands shaking. Over the next months, he was interviewed, repeatedly, different officers, different questions. Why do you want to immigrate to America? Because America gives chances to immigrants, to builders, to people who want start over. You fought for the enemy. I fought for what I thought was right. I was wrong. I want chance to be right. What will you do in America? Work, any work, mechanic, factory, anything honest. Why should we trust you? Klaus showed his missing fingers. I lost these in your snow, lost my friends in 8 seconds, lost my country in 5 years. I have nothing left but hope. Hope that America is what they say, land of second chances. And in January 1947, after 11 months of applications and interviews, the answer came. Approved. The officer who delivered the news was skeptical. You fought against us. Now you're one of us. How do I know you won't betray us? Klaus met his eyes. Because betrayal is what I'm running from. Germany betrayed everything good. America is my chance to be loyal to something worthy. The officer stamped the papers. Welcome to America, Mr. Weber. Don't make us regret this. I won't. I swear it. March 1947. Hamburg, Germany. Klaus stood outside a bombed-out apartment building, rubble everywhere, starving people, broken city. He climbed stairs, 3rd floor, knocked. Liesel opened the door, stared, couldn't speak. Klaus was thinner, older, missing fingers, but alive. Klaus? She whispered. Then screamed one, Klaus! She threw herself into his arms, sobbed. Behind her, a little girl peeked out, 4 years old, Greta, his daughter. She didn't remember him, too young when he left. Klaus knelt, smiled. Greta, I'm your papa. I've been away, but I'm back, and I'm taking you somewhere safe. Where? The little girl whispered. Klaus held up the immigration papers. America? Liesel stared. America? Klaus, how? I applied. They accepted. We can leave. Start over. All of us. Liesel looked around the ruined apartment. The destroyed city. The starving people. When? She asked. 2 weeks. We sail March 20th. Liesel closed her eyes, tears streaming. Thank God, thank God. Klaus held his wife and daughter, his family, all he had left. In 2 weeks they'd board a ship, cross the Atlantic, leave everything behind. Germany, war, death, shame. Leave it all behind and maybe, just maybe, become something new. March 20th, 1947, Hamburg port. Klaus stood on the dock with hundreds of other displaced persons, Germans, Poles, Czechs, all waiting to board the SS Marine Flasher. Destination, New York. Liesel held Greta's hand. The little girl clutched a worn doll. Only toy she owned. "Papa, will America have toys?" Greta asked. Klaus smiled. "Yes, kleine Maus. America has everything." They boarded. Hundreds of refugees, cramped quarters, but heading toward hope. The ship pulled away from Hamburg. Klaus stood on deck, watched Germany disappear. He thought about Dieter, about the others, about the 37 men he'd killed, about the boy from Stuttgart who'd believed lies. That boy was dead, left behind with the ruins. Who would step off the ship in New York? Klaus didn't know yet, but he'd find out. March 31st, 1947. New York Harbor. The Statue of Liberty rose from the morning mist, green copper, torch held high. Klaus stood on deck with hundreds of others. Tears in his eyes, Liesel read the inscription aloud. Her English, better than his. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free. Klaus thought about Hollis Reinhardt, German immigrant who'd come with nothing, who'd given everything if America accepted Hollis, created space for him to build. Maybe it would accept Klaus too. The ship docked. Immigration processing took hours. Questions, medical exams, paperwork. Finally, an official stamped Klaus's papers. "Welcome to the United States, Mr. Weber." Klaus stared at the stamp. Official, permanent. He was American now, not German. American. He stepped onto American soil, Liesel and Greta beside him. Behind him, war, shame, death. Ahead, something he didn't have a name for yet, not quite hope, not quite redemption, just a chance, a second chance. Klaus looked back once at the ship, at the ocean, at Europe beyond the horizon. Then he turned forward, toward New York, toward America, toward whatever came next. He thought about the 8 seconds that had changed everything. The moment the Devil's Typewriter had ended his war and begun his redemption, he was ready. April 1947. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Klaus Weber found work at Schmidt's garage on the south side. German owner, immigrant himself, sympathetic. "You speak German, you work with engines, I pay $12 a week." Klaus took it, grateful. They rented a 1-bedroom apartment above a butcher shop. $30 a month. Small, cramped, but theirs. Klaus worked 6 days a week, rebuilding engines, fixing transmissions, keeping his head down. The other mechanics were curious at first. "You were in the war?" asked Tommy, a kid from Brooklyn. "Yes." "Which side?" Klaus looked up from the engine he was working on, met Tommy's eyes. "The wrong one." Tommy nodded slowly, asked nothing else. Word spread. The new mechanic, German, enemy soldier, missing 2 fingers from frostbite. Quiet, hard-working, kept to himself. Some customers refused service from Klaus. "I don't want no Nazi touching my car." Mr. Schmidt defended him. "Klaus is a good mechanic, a good man. Judge him by his work, not his past. Most accepted this, some didn't. Klaus endured it. What else could he do? Every night he came home exhausted, covered in grease, hands aching, but honest work, clean work. No one died from his labor, that was something. 1947 to 1948, building American lives. Liesl found work at a laundry, long hours, hot steam, rough chemicals, hard on her hands. But she never complained. They were together, they were safe, that was enough. Greta started kindergarten in September 1947. 5 years old, spoke only German. Within 3 months, she was speaking English. Within 6, she'd lost her German accent. Klaus watched his daughter become American, felt pride and loss in equal measure. She was forgetting Germany, the language, the culture, the war. Good. Let her forget. Let her be American, pure, untainted by what her father had done. One night, Greta came home excited. "Papa, teacher says we're learning about the war." "World War II, can you tell me about it?" Klaus froze, looked at Liesl. She shook her head slightly. "Greta, the war was complicated, not good for bedtime stories." "But you were there. You're a hero." Klaus's throat tightened. "No, kleine Maus, I was not a hero." "Were you a soldier?" "Yes." "Then you're a hero. That's what teacher says. Soldiers are heroes." Klaus knelt, looked his daughter in the eyes. "Listen to me carefully. Being a soldier doesn't make you a hero. Sometimes soldiers fight for the wrong reasons, do bad things. That doesn't make them heroes. It makes them just soldiers." Greta didn't understand. Too young. She'd understand someday. Klaus hoped it would be much, much later. October 12th, 1948. Liesl gave birth to a son. American hospital, American nurses, American baby. They named him Carl, American name, American future. Klaus held his son in the hospital, this tiny, squalling creature, born in the country Klaus had fought against. "He'll never know war," Klaus whispered. Liesl touched his face. "No, he'll only know peace. And opportunity. And America." Klaus prayed she was right. June 1950. Korean War. The radio crackled with news. Communist invasion of South Korea. American troops deploying. War again. Klaus listened, heart sinking. He'd thought war was over, thought he'd escaped it, but war never ends, it just moves. In November, more news. Battle of Chosin Reservoir. Marines surrounded by Chinese forces. Temperatures 35 below zero. The announcer: despite extreme cold that froze vehicle engines and medical supplies, American forces continue to fight effectively with their M1 Garand rifles. The weapons are performing flawlessly in conditions that would disable most firearms. Klaus stopped working, stared at the radio. M1 Garand. Still working, still saving American lives. The rifle that had killed Dieter. The rifle that had ended Klaus's war. The rifle that had brought him to America. Still serving. Still reliable. Still the best. Klaus felt something unexpected. Something he couldn't name at first. Then he recognized it. Gratitude. If that rifle hadn't been so effective, if Germany hadn't lost so decisively, would Klaus be here, in America, with his family, safe? The rifle had destroyed his old life, but created the possibility of his new one. Strange how something can be both destroyer and creator. February 1951, Klaus received a letter, U.S. Army, requesting his presence at recruitment office. He went, confused, worried. The recruiter was young, lieutenant, maybe 25. "Mr. Weber, your records show you served in the German military. Is that correct? Yes, sir. And you immigrated in 1947, applied for citizenship? Yes, sir, still waiting. The lieutenant nodded. There's a way to fast-track that. If you're willing. How? Serve. In the U.S. Army, we need soldiers with combat experience for Korea. If you serve, you'll receive citizenship immediately upon honorable discharge. Klaus stared. You want me? Fight for America. If you're willing, I know it's asking a lot. You've already fought one war, but this would prove your loyalty, definitively. Plus, you speak German. We need interrogators who can interview captured Eastern European soldiers. Klaus thought about this, about wearing an American uniform, carrying American weapons, fighting for the country he'd once fought against. The rifle, Klaus said quietly. What rifle would I carry? The lieutenant looked confused by the question. M1 Garand, standard issue, why? Klaus smiled, sad, knowing. No reason, I will do it, I will serve. The lieutenant extended his hand. Welcome to the U.S. Army, Mr. Weber. March 1951 to November 1952, Korean War Service. Klaus shipped out in April 1951. Training at Fort Benning, then deployment to Korea. He was issued an M1 Garand. The rifle felt familiar in his hands, too familiar. Every time he raised it, he thought of Dieter, of the others, of December 18th, 1944. But he learned to compartmentalize. This wasn't the rifle that killed his friends. This was the rifle defending his new country. Same weapon, different meaning. He served primarily as an interrogator. His German allowed him to question captured Eastern Europeans fighting for North Korea. But he saw combat too, held positions, fired the M1 Garand in anger. Each time the irony struck him. A German soldier using an American rifle designed by a German immigrant, fighting communists in Asia. The world was strange. He earned a Bronze Star for bravery. When asked what he'd done, he deflected. I did my duty, nothing more. In November 1952, he was discharged. Honorable service. American citizenship granted. He returned to Pittsburgh, to Liesel, to Greta and Karl. He was American now, officially, completely. But he still dreamed in German, still saw Dieter's face in the snow. Some things never change, no matter what passport you carry. February 16th, 1974. Springfield, Massachusetts. Klaus read the obituary in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Small article, page 7. Johann Hollis Reinhardt, 86, retired engineer at Springfield Armory, died February 16th in his home. Born in Quebec, Canada, Reinhardt worked at the armory for 34 years, contributing to weapons development during World War II and the Korean War. He is survived by his daughter, Rebecca Hartman, and 3 grandchildren. No mention of the M1 Garand. No mention of the millions of lives affected by his invention. Just a quiet death, an unremarkable obituary, a forgotten man. Klaus cut out the article carefully, folded it, placed it in his desk drawer with other important papers. The man who'd created the rifle that changed Klaus's life. Dead. Unremarked. Unremembered by most. But not by Klaus. Klaus would remember. Always. 1960. Pittsburgh. Karl turned 12. American boy through and through, baseball cards. Elvis Presley, school dances. One evening, he found Klaus in the garage, working late on a Chevrolet. Dad, can I ask you something? Klaus looked up. Of course. Why don't you ever talk about the war? Klaus set down his wrench. Why do you ask? Bobby's dad tells stories all the time about D-Day, fighting Nazis, liberating France. Klaus wiped grease from his hands. Bobby's father fought for America. You fought too. You have medals from Korea. Yes, but before that, I fought for Germany. Karl's eyes widened. You were a Nazi? Klaus flinched at the word. I was a German soldier. There's a difference. What difference? I believed things that were wrong, did things I regret, but I didn't know better. I was young, confused, thought I was serving my country. But you were on the wrong side. Yes. How do you know? Klaus pointed at the American flag hanging in the garage, required by the landlord. Klaus had kept it. Because the right side won, and because the right side let me come here, start over, become American, like you. Carl thought about this. Are you glad you lost? Klaus smiled, sad, true. Every day of my life, son. Every single day. Carl hugged his father. Klaus held him. This American boy. This second chance. I'm glad you're here, Dad. Me too, Carl. Me too. July 1985. Washington, D.C. WWII reunion. Klaus stood in the Marriott ballroom, 65 years old, grey hair, slight limp, missing fingers, hidden in pocket. Name tag, Klaus Weber, U.S. Army, Korea, 1951 to 1952.
No one here knew his earlier history, his German past, his SS service. Here he was just another veteran, just another American. The ballroom filled with men his age, uniforms, medals, stories, laughter. Klaus moved through the crowd quietly, listening, watching. Then he saw him, across the room, 60 years old, lean, silver hair, weathered face. But Klaus knew that face, would never forget it. The American soldier from the Ardennes, the one who'd killed Dieter and the others.
The one who'd spared Klaus. Their eyes met across 41 years and a crowded room. Recognition, instant, mutual, electric. The American froze, whiskey glass halfway to his lips. Klaus's heart hammered, every instinct screaming, fight or flight. But he was 65, too old for running, too tired for fighting. He walked forward, slow, deliberate. The American set down his glass, didn't move, waited. Klaus stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see the haunted eyes. The guilt still carried. I know you, Klaus said, English perfect now. The American nodded, voice rough. I know you too. Ardennes, December 18th, 1944. Yes. Silence. The ballroom noise fading. Just 2 old men, 2 survivors, 2 prisoners of memory. Klaus extended his hand, the one with missing fingers. Klaus Weber. The American stared at the hand. The missing fingers. Frostbite from lying in the snow for 3 hours. He took it, shook gently. Emmett Thorne. They found a quiet corner, 2 chairs, 2 whiskies. Neither knew who bought them. Emmett spoke first. I didn't know if you made it. I did because of you. Emmett shook his head. What? You spared me, could have killed me, didn't. I'd already killed 8 men. Emmett stopped. 7. I killed 7. You were number 8, but I couldn't. Why? Emmett's hands shook. I don't know, 8 seconds, 7 lives.
I pulled that trigger 7 times and watched them fall, and then I looked at you and I just couldn't pull it again. Klaus studied Emmett, saw the pain, the guilt, the burden carried for 41 years. You want to know their names? Klaus asked quietly. Emmett looked up, surprised, afraid. I don't know if I can. Klaus pulled out a worn photograph. 8 men in German uniforms, young, smiling, alive. This is Dieter Schneider, 26, my best friend.
Wife and daughter in Munich. You killed him first. Emmett stared at the photo, face draining of color. This is Ernst Müller, 19, youngest of our squad. Wanted to prove himself, second shot. Klaus pointed to each face. named each man, told their stories. Friedrich Weber, no relation to me, 32, philosophy student before the war. Otto Schmidt, always had a joke. Heinrich Braun, intellectual. Josef Keller, religious man, carried a Bible. Matthias Richter, sharpshooter.
Calm, under fire. Emmett's eyes filled with tears. I'm so sorry, God, I'm so sorry. Klaus reached across, gripped Emmett's shoulder. Don't be. How can you say that? I murdered your friends. You were a soldier. I was a soldier. War makes killers of everyone. You did what you had to do to survive. I've carried this for 41 years. Every day, every night. Their faces. So have I, Klaus said quietly. I've carried the guilt of surviving when they died, of wondering why you spared me. I don't know why. I do, Emmett looked up. Why? Because you'd had enough killing. 7 men was enough. You couldn't take one more life. That's not weakness, Emmett. That's humanity. Emmett wiped his eyes. I thought about that moment every day. Wondered if I should have finished it. I'm glad you didn't. Why? Klaus pulled out his wallet. Photos. My wife Liesel, my daughter Greta, my son Carl, born in America.
My 3 grandchildren. None of them would exist if you'd pulled that trigger one more time. He put the wallet away. You spared me, and I came to America, became a citizen, built a life, raised a family, served in Korea, became American. Emmett stared. You fought in Korea? For America? Yes, with an M1 Garand, same rifle you carried, same rifle that killed Dieter and the others. I carried it for America. That must have been strange, yes. Every time I fired it, I thought of them, of you, but I also thought, this rifle brought me here, to America, to freedom, to redemption. They sat in silence, processing. 41 years of questions finding answers. Finally, Emmett spoke. Do you know who designed the M1? Hollis Reinhardt. I learned about him in the POW camp. German immigrant, like me. He died in 1974, quiet, poor, unknown. Klaus nodded. I read the obituary, kept it. He gave America something nobody else could. A fighting chance. Against men like me, Emmett raised his glass. To Hollis Reinhardt, the immigrant who changed everything, Klaus raised his. To the M1 Garand, the weapon that ended my war and started my life. They drank. 2 old men, former enemies, now something more than friends. Brothers, perhaps, bound by 8 seconds that changed both their lives. Klaus, Emmett said softly, do you forgive me? Klaus met his eyes. Emmett, there's nothing to forgive. You were a soldier doing your duty, that's all. Then why do I still feel this guilt? Because you're a good man. Good men feel guilt for the lives they take, even in war, especially in war. Do you? Klaus thought about the 37 men he'd killed before Emmett found him. Every day, every single day. Emmett nodded, understanding. Can I ask you something? Klaus said. Monsieur, anything. Do you forgive me? For fighting for evil, for being on the wrong side? Emmett studied Klaus's face, the age lines, the sorrow, the weight. You were a soldier, like me, just a man caught in something bigger than himself. There's nothing to forgive. Klaus felt something break inside, a dam he'd been holding for 41 years. He wept, quietly. Emmett's hand on his shoulder. 2 old men, crying in a ballroom corner, while around them veterans laughed and told stories. But Klaus and Emmett had their own story, one that couldn't be told at parties, a story of 8 seconds, 7 deaths, 1 mercy, and 2 lives forever changed. They exchanged phone numbers, addresses, promised to stay in touch. As they parted, Emmett said, "I'm glad I didn't pull that trigger." Klaus smiled. "So am I, my friend. So am I." August 1998, 2 years before Klaus's death. The phone rang. Klaus, 78, answered. "Is this Klaus Weber?" Unfamiliar voice, but Klaus knew it instantly. "Emmett!" "Yeah, it's me. I'm calling because I need to ask you something before it's too late." Klaus sat down, heart racing. "What is it? Do you really forgive me for December 18th, 1944, or were you just being polite in 1985? Silence. Klaus closed his eyes, tears forming. "Emmett, listen to me carefully. There is nothing to forgive. You were a soldier. You fought for the right side. You gave me the greatest gift anyone has ever given me."
I killed your friends, and you spared my life. Because of you, I had 54 years I wouldn't have had. I raised children, became American, found peace, all because you couldn't pull that trigger one more time. Emmett's voice broke. I've carried this guilt my entire life. Then put it down, my friend. Put it down. I forgive you completely, absolutely, without reservation. Emmett wept. Klaus heard it over the phone. Deep, racking sobs. Thank you, Emmett whispered.
"God, thank you." "Do you forgive me?" Klaus asked quietly. "For what?" "For the 37 men I killed before you found me, for fighting for evil, for being young and stupid and believing lies. You were a soldier, like me. We both did terrible things in terrible times, but we survived, we became better. That's what matters. Then we're even. Even." They talked for 3 hours. About their lives, their families, their regrets, their hopes, about the rifle that connected them, the devil's typewriter that had typed both death and life. At the end, Emmett said, "Klaus, if I'm still alive when you die, I'll be at your funeral. And if you die first, I'll be at yours. Deal." They hung up. Klaus sat in the dark living room, crying. But these were different tears: relief, release, forgiveness. After 54 years, the weight was finally gone. June 15th, 2000, Pittsburgh. Klaus Weber lay in a hospital bed, 80 years old, lungs failing, body worn out. His family surrounded him, Liesel, 78, holding his hand, Greta, 58, tears streaming, Carl, 51, strong and silent, Nathaniel, 25, Klaus's grandson in army uniform, home on leave. Klaus could barely breathe, but his mind was clear. "I want to tell you something," he whispered. They leaned close. "I came to America defeated, humiliated, broken. Enemy soldier. Nothing." Liesel squeezed his hand. "Klaus, let me finish, please." She nodded, crying. "This country, this beautiful, impossible country, it gave me everything: a home, a family, a purpose, redemption." He looked at each of them, his legacy, his peace. "I was on the wrong side of history, but America let me switch sides, let me become one of you, one of us." Carl spoke. "Dad, you've always been one of us." Klaus smiled. "No, I became one of you. There's a difference. I had to earn it, had to prove it. Every day, every choice, every moment I chose to build instead of destroy." Nathaniel stepped forward. "Grandpa, what changed? What made you want to come here?" Klaus thought back. December 18th, 1944, the Ardennes, the snow, 8 seconds. "A rifle," he said finally. "A rifle showed me something I didn't understand." "The M1 Garand?" Klaus nodded. "The devil's typewriter, that's what we called it, because it typed death so fast." He closed his eyes, saw their faces: Dieter, Ernst, Friedrich, Otto, Heinrich, Josef, Matthias. "But it didn't just kill my friends." It killed my hatred, my pride, my ignorance. It showed me that better tools matter, that innovation matters, that accepting people who want to build something matters. He opened his eyes, looked at Nathaniel in his army uniform. That rifle brought me here, to this moment, to you, and I'm grateful. Grateful to be defeated, grateful to be liberated. Klaus's breathing grew labored, shallow. Liesel leaned close. I love you, Klaus. Always have, always will. I know I love you too. All of you, my American family, my redemption. His eyes closed, his breathing slowed. At 11:47 p.m., Klaus Weber died. German soldier, American patriot. Enemy, immigrant, citizen, father, grandfather, friend. He'd lived 80 years, fought in 2 wars, served 2 countries, but only loved one. June 18th, 2000. Arlington National Cemetery. Klaus had requested military burial, Korean War veteran, Bronze Star, honorable service, approved. The funeral was small, family, friends, a few Korean War veterans who'd served with him, and one unexpected guest, Emmett Thorne, 75 years old, walked with a cane, but present. He'd flown from Iowa when he heard. Had to be there. The honor guard marched. 7 soldiers, M1 Garands, dress uniforms. They fired the 21-gun salute. 3 volleys. Crack, 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 the same sound from December 18th, 1944. Different context, different meaning. Then war, now honor. The bugler played taps, mournful, beautiful. Final. The flag was folded, presented to Liesel. On behalf of a grateful nation. Emmett watched from his chair, tears streaming down his weathered face. After the ceremony, Nathaniel approached. Sir, I'm Klaus's grandson. Emmett looked up, saw Klaus in the young man's face. Nathaniel, your grandfather told me about you. I know who you are. Grandpa told me everything. About the Ardennes, about what happened, about how you changed his life. Emmett nodded. I'm sorry for your loss.
Don't be sorry. Grandpa said you gave him life, twice. Once by sparing him, once by showing him what America could be. Emmett wiped his eyes.
Your grandfather was a remarkable man. Because of you? No. Despite me, I was just a scared kid with a rifle. Nathaniel smiled. And he was just a scared kid too. You both survived. You both became something better. Emmett stood, walked to the grave, looked at the headstone. Klaus Weber, 1920 to 2000, German soldier, American patriot. The rifle changed my life. Emmett reached into his coat, pulled out something wrapped in cloth. He unwrapped it carefully. An M1 Garand block clip, 8 rounds, unfired. This is from that day, December 18th, 1944. I reloaded after, but never fired these rounds, kept them for 56 years. Couldn't throw them away, couldn't use them, just kept them. Nathaniel took the clip. Heavy, solid. History, made metal. Why give them to me? Because they belong with Klaus. They're part of his story, part of what made him who he became. Emmett knelt, placed the clip on the fresh earth beside the flowers. Rest easy, my friend, you earned it. He stood, saluted, crisp, military. Nathaniel saluted too. 2 soldiers, 2 generations. Honoring a man who'd been both enemy and brother. As they walked away, Emmett stopped, turned back. Nathaniel, your grandfather taught me something important. What? That the line between enemy and friend is thinner than we think, that redemption is possible, that people can change, that America's greatest strength isn't its weapons, it's its capacity for second chances. Nathaniel nodded. He lived that truth every day. Yes, he did. They walked together toward the parking lot, past rows of white headstones, past generations of soldiers, past wars fought and won and lost. And Klaus Weber, who'd fought on both sides and found peace on one, rested beneath American soil. Finally, home, October 2024, Civilian Marksmanship Program Range, Camp Perry, Ohio. Nathaniel Weber stood at the firing line, 50 years old, retired Army colonel, grey at his temples. His grandfather's missing finger's genetic echo in the slight stiffness of his own left hand. In his hands, an M1 Garand. Not just any M1, his grandfather's service rifle from Korea, serial number 4473821. Passed down through the family, around him, dozens of shooters, young and old, veterans and enthusiasts, all holding M1 Garands, all about to fire. The range officer called out, "Shooters, make ready!" Nathaniel loaded an N-block clip. 8 rounds, the same system designed by Hollis Reinhardt in 1936, unchanged, perfect. "Commence firing!" Nathaniel raised the rifle, aimed downrange, squeezed the trigger. Bang! The rifle kicked. Familiar? Comfortable? Like shaking hands with an old friend. He fired again, and again. 8 shots. Deliberate, accurate. Then the sound that had echoed across 88 years of history. Ping. The N-block clip ejected, tumbled through air, landed in grass. Nathaniel set down the rifle, walked downrange to retrieve the clip. As he bent to pick it up, he thought about his grandfather, about the story he'd told. 8 seconds, 7 men, 1 rifle, a weapon that killed and saved and transformed. Nathaniel looked at the M1 Garand in his hands, 9.5 pounds of wooden steel, designed by an immigrant, built by women in factories, carried by soldiers across continents, not perfect, the 8-round capacity limited, the weight excessive, the distinctive ping, a tactical compromise, but it worked when men needed it most. In snow and sand and mud and blood, in heat and cold and wet and dry, it worked, and sometimes that's all that matters. Nathaniel thought about the 3 men who'd been bound by this rifle. Hollis Reinhardt, who'd created it, Klaus Weber, who'd been defeated by it, Emmett Thorne, who'd wielded it. All dead now, all gone. But their story lived, in steel and memory, in history and legend. A young shooter approached, maybe 20, curious. "Sir, is that rifle from the war?" Nathaniel smiled. "Which war? World War II?" "No, Korea. But it's the same model that was used in World War II.
Did your dad carry it? My grandfather. Was he a hero? Nathaniel thought about this, about Klaus, about the 37 men he'd killed, about the 8 seconds he'd survived, about the 56 years he'd redeemed. He was a man, just a man, who made mistakes, who fought for the wrong side, who got a second chance, who spent the rest of his life proving he deserved it. The young shooter looked confused. He fought for the wrong side. Yes, Germany. He was the enemy.
Until he became American? How? Nathaniel held up the M1 Garand. This rifle defeated him. Then it showed him a better way. He came to America, raised a family, served in Korea, became a citizen, died an American patriot. The young shooter stared at the rifle. A rifle did all that? Nathaniel smiled. No, a rifle is just a tool, but it's a tool that represents something bigger. Innovation, opportunity, second chances, redemption. He looked at the M1 Garand. This beautiful, brutal, perfect instrument. My grandfather used to say the M1 Garand was the devil's typewriter because it typed death so fast. That's dark. Yes, but he also said it typed him a new life, a better life, an American life. Nathaniel loaded another clip, raised the rifle, fired 8 more rounds. Bang, 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 ping. The sound echoed across the range, across the decades, across the lives changed and lost and saved. Some rifles are just guns, tools for killing, nothing more. But some rifles are more than the sum of their parts. Some rifles change history, change lives, change destiny. The M1 Garand was one of those rifles. Not because it was flawless, it wasn't. Not because it was invincible, it wasn't. But because when it mattered, when men needed it, when everything depended on it, it worked. And it gave them something precious, a fighting chance. Sometimes a chance is all you need to survive, to grow, to change, to become something better than what you were. Klaus Weber understood that, spent 56 years proving it, from enemy to American, from destroyer to builder, from warrior to grandfather. The rifle didn't make him American, but it showed him the way. Nathaniel set down the M1 Garand, ran his hand along the walnut stock, worn smooth by 3 generations, his grandfather's rifle, his family's legacy, his country's history. He thought about Hollis Reinhardt, dead in obscurity, unknown to most. He thought about Emmett Thorne, died peacefully in 2005, finally at peace. He thought about Klaus Weber, who'd come to America with nothing, who'd died with everything that mattered. 3 men, connected by 8 pounds of wood and steel, all part of the same story. The story of the devil's typewriter, the story of America, the story of second chances. Nathaniel picked up the rifle, headed toward his car. Behind him, other shooters fired their M1 Garands, the distinctive rhythm echoing across the range. Bang, 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 bang. The sound of history, the sound of innovation, the sound of redemption. Still typing, still speaking, still teaching. That tools matter, that design matters, that accepting people matters, that sometimes the right weapon in the right hands changes more than battles, it changes lives, and that's the real legacy of the M1 Garand. Not the wars won, not the enemies defeated, but the lives changed, the second chances given, the redemptions earned. Klaus Weber's life, and millions like him, shaped by 8 seconds, 8 shots, 8 pounds of steel. The devil's typewriter typed them all.